form? You know, what did they look like a million years ago? What did they look like 4 million years ago? That's harder to say because we're still digging a lot of that stuff out. What do you perceive when we really start to throttle up on that thematic? It's still kind of in flex, so I'm not sure how to answer it, but they certainly, at a thematic and practical level, they dominate what is the truest story of StarCraft.
And they're not going to look like gnomes.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Hey, Chris, I have a question about the UED. Are we ever going to get the backstory of Earth and how the psionic purges turned out? And will we ever see any sign of the UED ever again in the next games?
Off the top of my head, I think it is potentially very fertile soil. Relative to what StarCraft 2 is, I can probably spare y'all the suspense. We won't be going to Earth in StarCraft 2. But I think there's any number of bitchin' stories we could, conjure relative to that era or those eras. It's not quite on our radar right now, but I think that's really interesting stuff.
Thank you very much. Get those creative juices flowing.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
My question is actually a bit of a plot clarification that's nagged at myself and some forum goers. In StarCraft 2, we see Tychus and Raynor take control of the Odin and basically do as they will with it right under Mengsk's nose. And then later, the revelation concerning Tychus's connection to Mengsk, I was wondering how it was that that all went down without him finding out about it and putting a stop to it. Go for it.
That is a good one.
That is a very good question. Brian.
Hi, Chris. Yeah, I mean, in my mind, during Media Blitz, the mission where Tychus is doing that, I don't know that Mengsk always had a direct feed open, because really, Tychus is wandering around the Hyperion, and if his suit is constantly broadcasting every conversation that he has, or even tight beaming every conversation that he has, there's a pretty good chance that Swan or someone else is going to pick up on it. In this game, we usually we have to sort of give you bits and pieces of the story, the most relevant ones, and everything else should make sense, but sometimes we do need the player to kind of work with us on that. So my thinking on Tychus's suit and how much information Mengsk gets from it was that, periodically, it's sort of like info drops. Periodically, there would be a very short, compact, encrypted tight beam transmission for 1/8 of a second that would go out to a specific satellite or whatever. So it's not that Mengsk had a constant knowledge of everything that Raynor's Raiders was up to. What Mengsk had was a gun to Tychus's head, and so he would get regular reports. But the idea was that when the key moment came, when Tychus was able to do what he had to do. I don't know why I'm speaking in code, like I'm going to spoil the end of a game that you've probably all played. But when the moment came that Tychus would have to attack Sarah, Mengsk fully expected Tychus to turn on the broadcast, right? Like now we're going to have direct communication.
Right.
And again, what Mengsk was looking at is a very simple proposition, that I've got a guy who I can kill at the flip of a switch, and he knows what he has to do, and he's a pretty experienced combat guy. Like, I can trust that he's going to do this, or he's going to die, and he knows that I have no trouble killing him. Because Mengsk is a chess player. He's a guy who understands that you play the man, not the hand, right? Like, he understands the motivations involved. So I think he felt it was a pretty safe bet that Tychus would do the right thing at the right time, and of course
wrong thing.
He did. Well, the right thing by Mengsk's
Right.
Mengsk's standard.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First off, I'd just like to say not only was the gameplay of StarCraft 2 phenomenal, but the cinematic presentation just out of this world. Chris, I'm a huge fan. I love how you've really been kind of the mastermind behind many of these stories, and I'd love to go deeper. So my question is, what's coming down the pipe as far as StarCraft 2 related novels?
Good question, and thank you for the props. StarCraft 2 related novels. Have we?
I don't think we have. But, I just don't know. Did you like Heaven's Devils?
Yeah, great. Great book.
Well,
There's more of that.
there's more of that.
That story will continue.
Well, it's like serious.
Let's do it.
All right, so we're doing a follow-up. It's already written. We did a follow-up to Heaven's Devils. It's called Devil's Due. It is written by a girl you may know named Christy Golden, who actually wrote the hell out of this thing. It's like a cowboy book. So where Heaven's Devils was kind of Jim and Tychus in the army, this is the sequel where it's kind of like Butch and Sundance, right? They're just two outlaws on the run, robbing trains, kicking butt. It's kind of like they're kind of rascally years, and Christy wrote the hell out of this thing, so I'm very excited for you guys to get to see a little bit more about Jim and Tychus's shenanigans over the years, and it definitely gives a little bit more insight into just kind of who Jim is and what his arc has been, what we see him trying to atone for in the present day, the sins of his past.
Can't wait. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah.
Hi, I was just wondering what Meng's actual plan for Tychus was, given Rayner's what he had to go through just to get to Kerrigan.
Right. Well, I mean, I think at base, Mengsk had been fighting Rayner for years, right, to a standstill. Different battles, hit and run tactics, and he could not make this rebel go away. So he used things like the media to try and paint Jim as a has-been and things like that. But essentially, when the Kerrigan threat, technically, hold on, let me compute. I think you stumbled upon a giant plot hole. Let's talk this through. We're family. It's all good.
All right.
So, if Mengsk let Tychus out of prison before the Zerg invasion began.
Indeed. Why did he do that? Well, I know my version of events.
You pull this off, I'm going to be very impressed.
No, well, to me, again, Mengsk is a chess player. He is a mastermind, but not, I want to make clear, sometimes people say, oh, this guy's a mastermind, so yeah, he saw all the moves coming, he saw everything, all of it. And we're not saying that, because he's not, he can't see the future, and he is not the source of all plots in the StarCraft universe, just a lot of them. But as Chris mentioned, Jim Raynor was the biggest thorn in his side. Like per the press conference at the beginning of Wings of Liberty, he thinks that Jim Raynor is the worst thing that could happen. But he's smart enough to know he can't just assassinate the man. That'll just turn him into a martyr. So he needs to destroy Jim. And it seems to me that as soon as he realized he had this guy in jail, he had Tychus Finley, that's a perfect opportunity to put him in the suit, which is the gun to his head, and then unleash him on Jim and see what happens. You know what I mean? If the Zerg hadn't showed up again, if Kerrigan hadn't rolled on out of Char, there's a good chance that within 6 months, Mengsk would have found an opportunity to use Tychus to destroy Jim in some other way.
Push him over the edge.
Yeah. So it was a fishing line. It was, we're going to throw this hook out there, and there's only one fish in the pond. And then all of a sudden, there was another fish in the pond, and it's like, wow, this is great. It was a very good thing for Mengsk.
Thank you. And is Tychus actually dead?
Well, I guess I'll say, if I had my way, and I know this will be unpopular, I would say totally. However, the artists on the dev teams, they refuse to believe that Tychus is dead. And they envision him with tentacles coming out of his face and things like that. So we'll see who wins that war when we get back home. But you never know. You never know with us.
Thank you.
Does anybody ever really die?
Right. I mean, right.
Hi, my question is, it's wonderful for Jim and Sarah that these ancient artifacts magically bring her back to humanity. But is that's all just fulfilling the prophecy that somebody makes these ancient artifacts a million years ago so that in case a girl gets turned from Terran to Zerg and infested and, all this, it's, just in case that happens, we'll leave these artifacts lying around and somebody can put them all together and assemble them and restore her. It seems a little Deus Ex Machina without...
That sounds remarkably convenient, doesn't it?
Yeah, a bit.
I wonder if it's occurred to you that the transformation might be a byproduct of something else, a side effect of something else that artifact is doing.
Sure, I look forward to finding out what that is. At the moment, it just seems really convenient for Jim.
We look forward to showing you.
Thanks.
Yes. No, I promise you that there is actually meaning to this.
Little more going on than is obvious.
And when future expansions are out, come to BlizzCon, and if I'm lying to you right now, call me on it. Assuming I'm not dead.
Right.
Hey guys, two questions related to the Dominion leadership. Obviously in the sort of bonus mission during the campaign, we find out that the Dominion has been experimenting. Experiments that have resulted in the creation of a hybrid, which is a prevalent sort of theme during the Protoss side missions. One is, what can you tell us about, did the Dominion know what they were doing with sort of the splicing of the DNA or whatever you want to call it? And did they know that their experiments would result in the creation of the hybrids? And also, we see after Media Blitz that there's rioting going on in Core Hall, there's all kinds of revolts going on in the core worlds. What is the state of the Dominion leadership? Really kind of what's going on over there?